Good evening, please be seated. Right, as we have members of the public in the audience this evening, in the public gallery, I will actually read out the fire evacuation procedure. In the event that the fire alarm sounds during the course of this meeting, please leave the building immediately by the nearest available exits. Escape routes are indicated by arrows on the green signs. Please do not use them. If anyone present has difficulty in negotiating the stairs, please make yourself known and we will discuss the most appropriate evacuation procedure with you. When clear of the building, proceed to the assembly point in the marketplace, and that's at the top end. And please do not try and re-enter the building until told to do so by the person in charge. Thank you. Okay, so a warm welcome to full council on this day, Tuesday, the 3rd of January. Do hope you've had a restful break, councillors, officers, members of the press, and sergeants, and thank you for attending this evening. I'd like to start with the first item on the agenda, which is number 1, apologies for absence.
We have apologies from councillors Arlott and Egerton.
Councillor Hinton said she'd be a bit late.
And
Councillor Clark is not well. He's a cold and under the weather, and next week he's going in to have his eyes done, so he attends the visit.
okay, thank you. And councillor Evans, we did send apologies today as well. Okay, thank you. Item number 2 is declarations of interest. Do we have any this evening? No, I see none. Thank you. So let's move on to item number 3, which is public participation. So this is the part of the meeting where we invite members of the public to make any statements, make any comments on anything to do with our town, Henley. Which one of you would like to speak first? Thank you. If you'd like to just stand, say your name and where you're from.
Thank you. I'm Kate Aldridge from Greener Henley. Thanks for the opportunity to speak today. So what if I told you that a choice we make daily is responsible for the following? Causes the emission of more greenhouse gas than all cars, airplanes and ships on the planet. Caused 80% of all deforestation this century. Is the biggest single cause of the 6th mass extinction. Uses 70% of all freshwater withdrawals and is responsible for 16.5% of carbon emissions globally. And what if I told you that we could easily make a different choice to create a safer and healthier world for ourselves and our families in the face of climate and ecological breakdown? The choice I'm talking about is whether to eat a diet rich in meat, fish and dairy. And I'd like to talk to you about why it's so important that our community starts a switch to a plant-based diet. Not necessarily 100%, but just a start. And to explain the important role that Henley Town Council can play in this process. We applaud the council in having declared a climate emergency and acknowledged an ecological emergency, and supporting the shift to plant-based eating is entirely consistent with these steps. This is because going plant-based is the biggest single way that individuals can reduce impact on planet Earth. Not just greenhouse gases, but global acidification to our oceans, eutrophication, which is killing our rivers, land use and water use. If we are aware of the impact on climate our dietary choices have and what the options are, we can make informed choices. Many of us have choices in relation to transport, travel, energy, finances, consumption, voting, and dietary choice is probably the most, well, one of the most important choices when it comes to environmental impact. We're not suggesting that everyone should switch to vegan overnight, but rather that any shift towards plant-based is a win. So 1 ask from Greener Henley to the council and 2 invitations. The ask, number 1, for the council, the Climate Emergency Working Group, to consider adopting formal policy of educating and encouraging the local community to move to a plant-based diet. Again, not 100%, but just to start to shift in that direction. The shift to plant-based diet is one of the most impactful wins for councils, along with tackling food waste, and I can point towards project drawdown for that. I can send a link. And the 2 invitations, we will invite you, the councillors, to perfectly demonstrate that you are supporting Veganuary by shifting to plant-based eating just in some way. So this might mean cutting out red meat just 1 day a week, or it might mean going the whole hog, forgive the pun, and going 100% vegan for a month, whatever is right for you and your family. And the second invitation is to invite you to attend the screening that Greener Henley are organising of the film Eating Our Way to Extinction, narrated by Kate Winslet at the Regal Picture House on the evening of the 31st of January. The director and producer of the film will be attending in person, and we're going to have a 3-person panel hosted by local entrepreneur and Ella's Kitchen founder Paul Linton. So please join other councils such as Hayward Heath and Exeter in promoting plant-based eating in order to create a safer and more prosperous future for ourselves and our children. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Would you like to speak as well?
I hadn't planned to, but I would encourage people to come to see the film Eating Our Way to Extinction, which is I think also on YouTube.
But don't watch on YouTube, come to the screen.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, so moving on to item number 4, which is minutes of the last meeting. This is to approve the minutes of the full council meeting held on the 15th of November. I have a seconder. Councillor Barishack, thank you. All those in favour? Thank you, that's carried.
Let's clarify, I believe on your version, I think it said Monday, 15th of November, that has been amended to Tuesday.
Okay, thank you. Noted. Okay, and item number 5, we've now got reports of committees. We received the minutes of the notice of the council committees as one in planning. So can we please first turn to page 7 on your agendas? Okay. I hereby am pleased to present the minutes of the planning meeting held on Tuesday, the 22nd of November. Item 121, apologies for absence. Item 122, declarations of interest. 123, minutes. 124, public participation. 125, plans amended. 126, plans new. And turning to page 9. 127, objections, calling applications. 128, decision notices. 129, withdrawn planning application. 130, certificate of lawful development applications. 131, prior approval notification. 131, funding for infusion tubes. And then over the page on page 10, 132, progress report for applications called in. I do so move. All those in favour? Thank you, that's carried. Yes, go ahead. Yes, correct. That is correct, yes. So we just need to bring us the number on those two. Thank you. Okay, so let's move on, please, to the minutes of the planning committee held on Tuesday, the 13th of December. 133, apologies for absence. 134, declarations of interest. 135, minutes. 136, public participation. 137, plans amended. 138, variation to order of business resolved. 139, reconsideration of planning application. 140, plans new. And then turning to page 14. 141, objections, calling applications. 142, decision notices. 143, withdrawn planning application. 144, certificates of lawful development applications. 145, prior consultation on telecom space station upgrade. 146, speed indicator devices. 147, progress report for applications called in. 148, progress report. I do so move. All those in favour? Thank you, that's great.
I would need to double check whether or not the first set of minutes have been fully approved. If they have been approved, then they should stand as they are amended. But I need to check with Deputy Pathback.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I hereby call on Councillor Donald Crook to move the minutes Tuesday, the 27th of November.
Minutes of meeting of preparation.
38, apologies. 39 of it. 40 public participation. You want just to take over? Councillor Cribb will take the deputy and Councillor Hinton. No, I'll carry on with the minutes. Okay, yeah, that's okay. Okay, so item 41 minutes, 42 progress, 43 finances, 44 2023-24 budget, 45 town hall banners. I do so move. All those in favour? Thank you, that's carried. Okay, I hereby call on Councillor Sarah Miller to move the minutes of the town and community meeting on the 29th of November. Councillor Fernando, going to take it? Okay, thank you. Oh, sorry, yes, okay.
You can share it.
Doesn't matter which one, yes.
I hereby present the minutes of the Town Community Committee meeting held on Tuesday, the 29th of November. Number 40, apologies. 41, declarations of interest. 42, public participation. 43, minutes. 44, communications manager update. 45, staffing update. 46, management accounts. 47, progress reports. That's only.
Many thanks. All those in favour? Thank you, that's carried. And I would like to next call on Councillor Ian Riceman to move the minutes of the Finance, Strategy and Management Committee held on the 6th of December.
Present the minutes of the Finance Strategy Management Committee was held on the 6th of December. Item 50, apologies. Item 51, declarations of interest. Item 52, public participation. Item 53, minutes. Item 54, grants. Item 55, finance. As will become evident, so agenda item later in the meeting, it's worth noting in 55B, the auditor's report, which was approved as part of item 55, about the level of general reserves. And the auditor was very clear in his recommendation that the level of general reserves should be observed, should be taken note of, and that in future there's a strong recommendation for a balanced budget, and we'll see how that works out in item number 9 of the meeting. Item 56, expenditure. Item 57, 2023-2024 budget. Item 58, exclusion of public and press. Item 59, legal updates. Item 60, 18 Harcourt Close, Making Recreation Ground. Item 61, 36 Marketplace. Item 62, 353, 357 Reading Road. I so moved.
Many thanks, Councillor Riceman. All in favour? Thank you, that's carried. Okay, so let's move on to the item number 6, which is reports of other authorities. And council have noted that no report has actually been submitted, and Councillor Gavishak will explain to you all why.
So, well, I mean, there was not a lot happening, and also I had a conversation with Councillor Hinton, and we will submit a bumper edition for the next council meeting that will cover all the district, and there have been some things happening in the district and the county. So that's the report bit. However, I have received some questions from Councillor Clark and also Councillor Hamilton, which I will read out and I will answer. Okay. The first one is from Councillor Ian Clark. The town council employed, well, I'll quote it correct, David Hamilton Bailey, a traffic consultant. This was in 2014, a long time ago. The town council employed David Hamilton Bailey, by the way, it was Ben Hamilton Bailey, a traffic consultant, and nothing came of it. Why is Councillor Gavishak wasting more monies on 2 more consultants, and what might come of it? I am not spending any money on consultants, so I don't know where this question is coming from. I have sent an email to Councillor Clark for clarification. There are no consultants that I'm consulting. So that's that one. Councillor Hamilton. It's primarily in relation to the Swiss Mile crossing, which is coming up later. And question one is this: how many pedestrian puffin zebra crossings has Oxfordshire County Council built out in the last 4 years across Oxfordshire? Question two: what percentage of these crossings have been funded by OCC, and what percentage by OCC local council reverses still? So my answer to those two questions is exactly the same answer that I gave 9 months ago. That if Councillor Hamilton wants to find out the data on what has been spent on crossings across the whole of Oxfordshire, he can send an email to County Hall and get the information himself. Now, he'll only have to do it for the last 9 months because he did it 9 months ago anyway. So, number three, to do with Swiss Farm Crossing. Would the pavement on the northwest side of the Marlow Road, round the corner, perhaps be a better safety measure requiring priority monies? That's such an elaborate crossing, or can it be included in the scheme? There are no plans to upgrade the pavement on the northwest side. It's a very narrow side anyway. The priority at the moment with the Swiss Farm Crossing, which will become apparent, is there is a brilliant footpath all the way to Henley. So you just provide a crossing that goes across, turns right, people walk into Henley. And finally, can he confirm that OCC is making no markup, no handling or administrative fee? To be clear, zero in this project? The answer is it's a Henley Town Council project. So the answer is yes. That there will be no handling from OCC. Thank you. Those are my questions, and we will debate Swiss Farm Crossing in a bit. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, item number 7, reports of outside bodies. Do you have any this evening? Yes, Councillor Hooper.
Yes, Councillor Rob Bromers and myself were supposed to be on the Leishling committee, but I represented the council.
Yeah.
But at when they came over in October, I didn't even know they were here. And I don't think Rob knew. We had no invitations. We didn't know what was going on. And the only time I knew about it was in the Henley Standard.
Oh. Okay. That's not worked very well then, has it?
No.
I mean, obviously, you know that the mayor has been heavily involved because of the 40th anniversary. I don't know if that's got anything to do with it.
No, I don't think so. I spoke to I think he's the chairman of the Leishman and Falaise Twinning Association. And he said, oh yes, we'll definitely keep you all informed to let you know what's happening, any invitations, etc., etc. I think that was at, I'm not quite sure where it was, but certainly in the town hall, we had something on, and but nothing, not a thing.
Okay, all right, thanks for letting us know. We'll see if we can follow up with an email and get you all linked. Got very, very lovely calendar from Bled in the post over Christmas and New Year. It's lovely to think that they always think of us. Did you get that last year? Yeah. Okay, let's move on then to item 8. Yes, Hamilton.
That's a question. I was a bit shocked to read the news in the Henley Standard about the River and Road Museum. This is obviously Henley Museum.
Hang on, sorry, Councillor Hamilton, this isn't on the agenda tonight.
I wanted to ask a question of the trustees of the Henley River and Road Museum as an outside body.
You have to, don't you have to do,
No.
have notice of that?
No, I'm just asking a question if they could give us an update about what's going on, because I think we've probably reached a point with the River and Road Museum where perhaps the Finance Committee should have a little meeting with them to see if we can help in any further way.
I mean,
I think you are a trustee, and I think Councillor Arnold is a trustee.
And it's to do the roofs work.
Yeah.
The roof works. So you know.
I know about the roof works. I just wonder whether we could help.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it makes obviously makes a good headline, but it's not as bad as it looks because obviously they've closed and they've had to spend X amount on one roof. But I'll tell you what I'll do is I will ask the chair to see if he's free and come and speak to us. Yeah.
Thank you.
Can I just
Yeah. Sorry.
This council does provide grants to the River Down Museum, and we can always review grants. And if Councillor Hamilton wants to approach the Finance Committee to raise the issue, perhaps he can do that after the meeting.
Thank you. Okay, we come to the favourite item on the agenda, which, as you know, is Mayor's civic engagement. So turn to page 25. And as you can see, December was very, very busy. Mostly due to, obviously, you know, the festivities and celebrations around Christmas, but the Living Advent calendar, which I'm so pleased that was such a big success. I don't think we have the final count yet, but what a successful set of celebrations that is. I mean, I have to say, I've never really appreciated it before until you kind of go mostly every night. What a fantastic bunch of organisers they are at Living Advent calendar. So huge congratulations to all of them. Really, really good work. Any other questions from anyone? Yes,
Yes,
Councillor.
Two things to say really. Firstly, thank the councillors, some of the councillors around the table for the Santa Fun run, for helping out.
Yeah.
It was another great event. Thanks to Councillor Crook, Councillor Gavigan, and of course to the man over there, Councillor Blanc. I was just wondering, do we know how much it rose?
I think it was just kind of £700, wasn't it?
It was about £770,
Fantastic.
but I haven't got the final for the Lions, because they are our local fans.
They are, yeah.
Yeah. And I've got a meeting coming up with Lions on Monday, so I'll be able to find out more.
Oh, that's
Get back to you.
Brilliant.
Yeah. But again, that was I'm going to try and run it next year, I think.
Yeah, I know, I said one.
Right. Okay, any other questions? No. Okay, thank you. Great turnout, given the weather as well.
I know.
Okay, let's get on to the 2023 for budget item number 9. Councillor Rutherford from the Chair of Finance. Thank you.
So it's on budget on page 27 of your agenda, there is the summary of the budget, which is being presented to this council for approval and to go forward as a request for our precept to be collected on our behalf by the district council. Now, the column on the left-hand side, budget for 2023-24, shows that the precept is going to be £730,848. And the comment by it states that that's funded by, that is an increase of 4.7%, 3% of which is going to come from a council tax increase, which is considerably less than inflation, and 1.7% comes from the increase in the number of houses since last year. Every house that gets added into Headley gets built from new, raises council tax, and that comes to us. And every house that's improved goes up the council tax band, and that income additionally comes to us. And that's 1.7% this year. So we're looking at overall, that's increasing our precept by 4.7%. Now, what that means in practice, in the average Bambi council taxpayer, or the average Bambi household, is that the increase will go from £116.30 per year to £119.79. So that's an increase of just over £3, £3.69 per year per household, which I think anyone who looks at the number of different services that we provide, the activities that we run, the buildings that we support, represents action like the playgrounds, and the green spaces, all the work that sort of silently goes on, which we all value and accept. And the other important figure here is the bottom line, which is the total surplus this year. We have a budget for a surplus of £1,953. Now, for some years now, this council has run a deficit. There are a number of reasons for that, and it has been decreasing in recent years. The aim of getting to a balanced budget is one that we're finally achieving now, assuming this budget is passed. And we've been attempting to do this for some years. Of course, for the last 2 or 3 years, we've incurred considerable costs as a result of the pandemic. And for 2 of the years, there have been 6-figure sums there. So although the pandemic is, we hope is over now, a lot of those costs have gone. They have caused us to delay getting to a revenue neutral budget. And I'm delighted that the work of the town clerk and the accountants and other officers and councillors have been able to put this budget on the agenda as a neutral budget. And as I mentioned earlier, the auditor's report that we approved at the previous finance meeting was very clear in this. The words of the auditor were recommend the council take active steps to produce a balanced budget for future years. And the auditor's advice is good advice, and we should be following it anyway, but it is something that we've been aiming to do for some time. We are not allowed to borrow money. Any money that we spend, which we don't collect in income by precept or other services that we charge for, we have to find that from savings. And as the auditor pointed out, our general reserves are down to about £600,000 now. And if we exhaust those, we then won't be able to borrow money. We'll have to run a budget. And if there are unforeseen costs that we have to incur, we won't be able to fund them. In general, if an item comes up that we want to spend money on, we pass a resolution. And very frequently, if there's no budget line for it, because it's an unforeseen cost, we then have to take it out of general reserves. And so it's important we keep and maintain those general reserves in order to make sure the council's finances are in a resilient state. So my proposal is that the 2023-24 budget attached to the agenda, tonight's agenda, is approved and sent to XODC. The Town Council request a precept of £730,848 for 2023-24, and this will mean the average the annual council tax increases from £116.30 to £119.79, which is 3%. I so moved.
Thank you. Seconder? Councillor Davishak? Councillor Rowlands? Jenny, councillor likes to speak. No, okay, yes, Councillor Clark.
We've had some great debate on this in finance, and I think last council meeting as well. I just say all the councillors, I'm sure, are aware, because you've been through the notes and agenda, that this is against the advice of both our accountant and the town clerk. We should be going for 5%, because for those who sat at the last finance, it was £80,000 worth of charitable applications. We had £11,000 left reward because we don't have enough spare cash to do the good that we wish to do. And by sticking to or going to 3%, which is a hell of a lot better than 0, we give ourselves almost no flexibility again. We will sit in multiple sort of meetings next year and not have enough money to do half the stuff that we wish to do. Our accountant doesn't think that we'll even manage to make it on the budget at 3%. 5% would be a lot better, but I'll support 3%. But just so that we're all aware, we're making next year's budget pretty tough going with 3%. It will come back by us next year.
Thank you. Thank you for those thoughts. Would any other councillor like to speak before we put this to the vote? Yes, Councillor Hamilton.
I'm also concerned that I hear what Councillor Ryden said. We're now moving to a neutral budget, but it's an operating deficit slightly. And we should be moving to a balanced budget. That's absolutely right what the auditor says, but we can't borrow, and that's absolutely right. We shouldn't be able to borrow. And I'm concerned as well, 3 or 5%. It makes little difference in terms of the amount of money we actually raise. Between 3 and 5, it's about 10,001% in terms of the precept, although we could go further in terms of cutting the costs. And it will be up to the next council after May, because effectively this budget will last for 1 month until the next council is elected, and they will have the job. And I hear what Councillor Plant said, it's going to be very tight. And that is the reality of where we're at. But the auditors are making it quite clear that we must move to a balanced budget. But I'm concerned that we're not listening enough to the officers who are making it very clear to us that it should be a 5% increase.
Okay, thank you. Would you like to start, Councillor Osborne?
Yeah, I'd like to answer those points. So a budget is a plan. And plans should be realistic and they should represent the goals that we believe represent the wishes of the town as a whole. And so they're not a decision to spend money. They're what is they are the expectation that we think we will spend. Any money that we do spend will have to come in front of a committee or a full council in to deal with that. And that works both ways. We can choose not to spend the money, or we can choose to spend more money than we budgeted. So, for example, if a number of grant applications come up that we do favour spending and it exceeds our budget, it's perfectly permissible for us to exceed the budget by voting through a proposal, and then we have to borrow the money from our reserves. We can't borrow money from some sort of something other than our reserves. It has to come from our reserves, and we do have 600,000 in reserves. A good plan will show that we end up with a year with a small surplus. And just to emphasise, we have met the goal set by the auditor of a neutral budget, a small surplus, £1,950, but it does represent a surplus. We have followed the advice of the auditor, and we have followed the wishes that we have been trying to put into practice the last 4 years to avoid a revenue deficit. And that's very important. We are not borrowing money, and we should in future be able to maintain a revenue neutral budget. Pandemics apart, perhaps. So that's why I'm slightly puzzled by the criticism that we've not followed the auditor's rule, and we've not followed the advice of our officers in only raising the council tax by 3%. I'm slightly puzzled by that. By making sure that the plan for costs has been trimmed where possible, or income has been gained, we have managed to avoid raising council tax by, say, inflation, or by or we've kept it down to 3%, which is a long way below inflation, which we customarily raise, in order to reflect the difficulties that people have with paying tax nowadays. So I'm slightly puzzled by the criticism. We've done exactly what it is that we aim to do. We've done what it is that we've been asked to do by the auditor. We've maintained council tax increases below inflation. We've maintained services, and we have produced a budget with a small surplus, and we've maintained our investments at the same time. It's a win-win-win-win situation, this budget. It's a big budget, and I recommend that we do it.
Okay, well, let's put this to the vote then. All those in favour of approval? All those against? Okay, that's carried, thank you. Okay, item 10 on the agenda is the Swiss Star crossing to consider a report on funding for the public crossing on Marlow Road. If you turn to page 33. That's a good check. Would you like to speak to this one?
Could I first ask councillors to turn to page 35, which are the recommendations on this of this crossing. You have on your papers 5.1, 1 to approve the expenditure, 2 to approve the allocation of the money. That was on your papers. I would like to add a third one, and this third one will be. I'll give the wording in a moment. It will recognise Henley Town Council's full involvement in this whole process. But 3 is this: Henley Town Council will be overseeing the procurement process to get 3 quotes. And this will be overseen by Nick Deere, Kath Adams, Deputy Town Clerk, and myself, Councillor Stephen Gabrichet. So we will oversee the quotations process. All decisions that we make will come back to planning, which is the norm anyway. We have to go through a 3 quotes procedure because the amount of money we are spending is above our limit. So there's that. So there will be those 3 recommendations. can I actually thank Nick and Kath for this excellent report, which I think ticks all the boxes, and I would just want to highlight a few items from page 33, 2.2. It was in February 2021 that OCC and May 21, so a little while ago, that OCC approved this consultation. The estimate, 3.1, the estimate is around about 138,000 for the installation of the Popping Crossing, which is based on a similar installation that's been made. Page 34, and this is the important thing. Why are we doing it? In the middle of page 34, 3.9. In order to get a consultation going for a crossing, you have to have surveys. And 3.9, over a 12-hour period in August 29, it showed that 3,624 vehicles travelled along the road. In other words, a hell of a lot. And at the same 12-hour period, 450 pedestrians were trying to cross the road. So that's an observable fact. 310. Swiss Farm has 160 residents on site, and when the camping season's on from Swiss Farm, they have 360 visitors on site. So this crossing potentially is going to cover 420 people. So therefore, we need a safe route. Cars do travel along that road very, very fast. And as I said in the previous thing, 3,600 vehicles in a 12-hour period. And I've been there, in fact, the mayor was there observing crossings, and people had to wait for 3 or 4 minutes to actually cross the road. Bottom of the page, the council has 269,000 of unallocated SIL funding. SIL funding comes from development and must be spent on projects that benefit the town. There is a further payment due in April 23 of 63,000. Therefore, I really think that this is a very good project to do. 4 years ago, I promised as a county councillor that there would be 3 new crossings coming into Headley. And my political group actually said we wanted to put pedestrians in front of cars. And this is ahead of and we have done the Grays Road crossing, we've done the Gravel Hill crossing, and now we are doing the 3rd one that we actually promised, which was the Swiss Farm crossing. I'd like to thank David Palmer, who lives on Swiss Farm, for accompanying me to Oxford for the consultation that happened. And in fact, I swapped an email with him today. He couldn't come this evening, but he's extremely pleased that the crossing is going to go ahead. So therefore, I would ask all councillors, hopefully unanimously, will approve this crossing. And we can make it a safer place for pedestrians to cross and not lie down in front of cars anymore. So I recommend 5.1, which is little 1, little 2, and the 3rd one that I've added, which gives Headley Town Council the supervising role for the 3 closure stations. So I'm so moved. Thank you.
Can I have a second, please? Councillor Romans, thank you. Would any councillor like to speak before we put this to the vote? Yes, Councillor Hamilton.
Yeah, I'll speak briefly on this, and I won't be political at all, because obviously you get run over. But the reason why I asked the questions, and I thank Councillor Gavishat for adding point C, which was pretty much a random procurement, is because we had such an experience on the lay-by at the top of Grays Road, where there was a handling fee for extending the lay-by, and I didn't want to get into that situation again. So I'm pleased that you've added that as a 3rd point. The reason for asking the question about the pavement on the northwest side is walking to the caravan site, which is beyond the corner, is perilous. And it was always down on a list with Oxfordshire County Council from many years ago as and when monies became available, no, that back then it wasn't available, would that pavement perhaps be considered as a priority? And so whilst we are today approving estimates, if that piece of pavement could be included, I think it would be beneficial for people in the caravan site. Certainly walking further on down around the corner, if that could be included. Now, if that's not possible, it's not possible. I just wanted to flag it and raise it. It was something that was put on a list some time ago as a priority improvement that could happen. I'm in favour of a crossing, and I trust OCC, the difference between a pelican and puffin and a zebra, and they know best. So I'm in favour of this crossing. However, I just ask that it's procured properly, and clearly now we've got the right supervisory team to make sure that it happens. I trust that that team will go out to Oxfordshire County Council highways approved bodies and non-ones, so that we get best value for money, and that will come back in due course.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Lambert.
As the road is very narrow, I wonder if maybe a painted marked walkway would be more sensible than actual pavement.
Councillor Weston, you've got your hand up.
Sorry, no, I was,
All right.
I was trying to speak. I was going to say
You
something.
do, okay, yeah.
I was just going to say what good news this is. It's for at least 10 years, as far as I can recall, we've been saying we wish to have a crossing there to allow pedestrians to safely cross the road, obviously, but it also acts as a calming measure. So traffic does speed down there. I think anybody who's walked down there will be aware that traffic can go quite quickly, unless the queues are too long. And so for at least 10 years, we've been the residents of Swiss Farm have been asking us, and we've been promising them. And I know we've been quite close once or twice, but finally we are going to get this crossing, and it's definitely needed, and it will definitely be a good move. It's a slight shame we've got to find town council money rather than highway authority money, whose responsibility it really is to make the road set the road safe and allow pedestrians to cross. But the reality is that there are many items of funding this town council does provide, which would normally be provided by a district council or county council, and this is yet another example. But having said that, it's a project that I think represents good value for money for the town, and we should spend the money that we've got through SIL, which is designed to provide infrastructure improvements that the developments cause to the stress to the town. And so I support this. It's a capital project. It doesn't affect our revenue budget, which is nice.
Okay, well, let's put it to the vote then. All those in favour of the recommendation to approve? Thank you, that's carried. Let's move on to item 11, purchase of appliances. Now, I have the opinion that this should actually go back to committee. It's not actually an urgent piece of work, so I do think it should be passed back to its committee for full scrutiny by that committee. I so propose. I'll second that. Yes.
Back to our name.
Back to RNA, yeah. Okay. All those in favour? Oh, sorry, Councillor Hill, you wanted to speak.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to say, I've used a couple of catering suppliers, and if I could give an email to Becky and the town clerk, because I think I could be of help on some of these items that they're looking at.
Oh, I'm sure they
I support them, but I could perhaps save some costs.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right. Through to committee,
Yeah,
because we should allow these sorts of thoughts to be discussed and decided in a slightly more measured way.
Okay, thank you. All those in favour? Thank you, that's carried. Now, item number 12, the lift in the Lycombe Pavilion. Now, this is actually an urgent matter because it is very much an asset of the town that is being fully used. It's currently rented out to a preschool, so we must have a fully serviced lift there. Town Clerk, did you want to speak to this at all?
And I don't have enough to add, other than what's on the floor. We are still waiting for the third quote, which we need before we can undertake the work, but we should hopefully have that.
Okay, would any councillor like to make a comment or a proposal? Councillor Plant?
Oh, I was gonna say it's a pretty straightforward one, go recommendation 5.1, leave it for the town clerk to get it,
Yeah.
choose the best company and get it done as efficiently as possible.
Okay. Thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak? Okay, all right, all those in favour? Thank you, that's carried. Item 13, again, this is an item I think I would recommend it goes back to the committee for full scrutiny. Should we think, yeah, okay, that's seconded. Would the other councillor like to speak?
Already.
Okay, let's put this to the vote then. All those in favour of confirmance? Thank you, that's carried. And again, item 14. The management options for Jubilee Park. Yes, Kath, would you like to speak to this one?
I would, yes.
Yeah, okay, 61 to 65. Go ahead. Please do, yeah, no problem today.
So this went to the Reading Road, 353 Reading Road Working Group, back in December. There is an urgency for this report. The funding that the councils received from locality, the neighbourhood planning, the government statement planning programme has to be spent by the end of March. So we need to get detailed plans for the clubhouse drawn up and paid for with the architect before the end of March. And the report on the management options will feed into the layout of the clubhouse. So it would be advantageous if we can give the go-ahead to the consultant to start working as soon as possible.
All right, thank you for that explanation.
I can also say a bit more about why.
Yeah, good. And then I'll come to councillor Lance, hopefully wants to speak, yes.
So this is requesting funds for an additional piece of work from the consultant that's supporting us for the funding base for the Football Foundation. He's proven himself to be very efficient, writing full reports. Has definitely got the support from the clubs, because he's got lots of experience, he's very knowledgeable. The way we manage the site once we've got a clubhouse and 3D pit is critical for how it will work. As the council are aware, there's been a lot of discussion over the previous iteration of the project on how agreement between sports clubs, and I think looking at the sports trust as a way to manage the site, where the council and the clubs and possible other members of the community all are involved in the management of it and have a say in it, they're stakeholders in it, that could be a better way to move forward and hopefully avoid issues with difficult problems with leases, etc. And this report would give us the information we know to know whether a sports list is the way forward. It would set out 3 options for us and the roles that we need to be looking for, support that we'd be looking for the sports clubs to make that work.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Palmer, I think you wanted to speak.
Oh, yeah, I was just going to say thank you to Catherine and the committee for the hard work that's being done. The reports are brilliant, the ones that have been generated so far. The money on the table is very exciting, and yeah, we recommend that we go with 5 and 5.1. Again, allocate the money from self. We've got plenty left. Keep the head of steam that it's currently running with going. Hopefully, get this project done in a timely manner.
Thank you, Councillor Palmer. Is that seconded? Councillor Hinkler, thank you. With any councillor, yes.
Can I just speak briefly? I don't thank Councillor Brown for his comments. This is an important part of the project, which is to make sure that once it's built, which might be the heart, regarded as the heart of it, we need to make sure that there is a sensible and working operational model for the management of the site, the different services, the different organisations which could use it. It's quite specialist work, and it's right that we award this or passed this proposal, which is that we ask the consultants to provide the options and for us to be able to make a decision on how the site will be operated when it's built. And there's been a suggestion already that our employment of consultants is unwise. That's just not true. This consultant has shown themselves to be well engaged, knowledgeable, and provided very useful feedback already on other aspects of the project. And I'd fully expect them to provide a very helpful report here. There's good value for money to make sure that we build something which can operate successfully in the interests of any organisation in the town.
Yeah, thank you. Councillor Hamilton.
I thank Kath for giving an update. I'm too supportive of this consultant to come in and look at the how this building operates, because we know from the Majeski report that this building needs to be not only viable but opened by someone and closed by someone in the morning and in the evening. And the management of that building is key for it to be profitable long term rather than a cost to this council. And that's why we need to go through this process. So I think we should keep the head of steam. At the value for money, sorry, at the 353 Reading Road meeting, which you attended the whole day, we unfortunately were unable to change the plans because they were being submitted the next day. And there was the debate at that meeting, so all councillors aware, whether it should be 2 or 3 stories, and we've left it open that it could be 3 stories. It will need to be 3 stories if the building is going to be viable. It won't work with 2 stories, but the plan that's gone in so far is just for 2 stories. But we've left on the table that it can be, or that it can be changed in due course. So I just ask that when they look at the management of the building, and this is what this report comes back with, they leave the option open for either a 2 or 3 story building and come back with the answers as per the viability. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so this is the vote then? Yeah, okay, all those in favour of approval of 551. Okay, that's carried unanimously. Many thanks. Okay, let's move on then to item 15, which is the town hall Wi-Fi. Town clerk, would you like to speak to this?
Yes, I believe there may be a proposal because the refers to fund back the American committee. But I'm happy to speak to it.
I think you should bury that.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay.
The matter isn't urgent, and I think the issue of IT generally is something that we do need to consider slightly more broadly potentially as well. So I'd like to take the opportunity of referring back to finance, consider this proposal as well as other possible IT implications that we should be looking at. So I propose to refer it back to finance.
Seconding, Councillor Lambert, thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak?
Guess I'll stay in my hotspot for a while.
Okay, so, just to clarify, the Wi-Fi is up and working, and is certainly working well because we're streaming music. So
Yeah.
You think we're streaming music?
Okay, thank you. All those in favour, referring back. Okay, thank you. Okay, so we come to the item where we have to say goodbye to some staff and then the press. Thank you so much for attending. Appreciate it. Let me just quickly read this out. Item 6, which is exclusion of public and press. Considered that the public and press be excluded from the remainder of the meeting in accordance with the Public Bodies Admission to Meetings Act 1960. As publicity would be prejudicial to the public interest by reason of the confidential nature of the business. I do so move. All those in favour? Thank you, that's carried.